Bato of the Water Tribe is the 15th episode of Season 1 of Avatar The Last Airbender and the greatest show of all time, at least in my opinion, and honestly probably yours too, since you're watching this niche episode essay on one of the nichest episode of Avatar, so I think you'll like the show too. But today I will explain why it's better than you remember, because people seem to really dislike this one, especially Aang's decision and his character in this episode, but we'll get into that later. First, please go down and give this video a like and subscribe if you like, because I'm trying to make it to 100 subscribers by the end of the month. Support a small channel and help us grow as a community. Without further ado, let's get right into it. The first thing I noticed while doing my rewatch of this episode was how fast-paced the early scenes are. The first scene where they find the knife or the tooth, the knife, it really quickly transforms into a flashback without really a second beat. And the same is with June's introduction scene where she comes and finds the stowaway on Zuko's ship. It's really quickly paced and shot and edited, I'll say, and it really helps bring us up to speed on the main and secondary narrative, so they can get to the hook faster, which I don't mind in this one. It's a little fast paced. I really noticed it, but it isn't really a bad thing. And since the hook is pretty good, the old versus new family, I believe it works for this episode. And since they don't have this low minute count for an episode, just 20 minutes, it's good that they get things going quickly. But first, if we talk about Aang, and it's his decision, which is the crutch of the episode, and as I said in the intro, people seem to hate it. They say Aang wouldn't do that, just like they say Aang wouldn't be that not perfect father in Korra, like when I believe it's in season 3, or maybe it's season 2 actually, I can't remember, but they play favorite with Tenzin. I think it's season 3 actually, that Tenzin was the favorite. But it does make sense, and here it also makes sense for Aang's character to be insecure with his new family and the possibility of losing them. That's why I really like his decision. It gives Aang more flaws. He is not perfect. He's a very good character, good in both sense of the word. He's good and he's a great person morally, and he's good also as a character. But the moral thing, I feel people overstate how good he should be. I feel like he should have a few issues that he has, a few true flaws. Every character should have flaws, and I feel like this gives Aang a good one. When it comes to my issues with him getting interrupted all the time, it's a little on the nose in those early scenes, especially where they're just meeting Bato and Bato. I cannot pronounce that. And they're sitting in his tent or house or whatever we want to call it, and it's just really on the nose. It's so noticeable. It's just several times. I wish they really made that a little bit more subtle. And the actual scene when they heist the paper, it's a little rushed. I just wish we got a little pause, a little deliberation from Aang, so it doesn't seem so rushed. And I also hated how he walked out, because it could have been avoided if he just stayed 2 seconds longer. That's such lazy writing. It's just stupid. That really dragged. That should be what people complain about when they talk about the episode, because that decision of making Aang walk out legit 5 seconds before they were like, oh no, we're gonna stay with Aang, just completely nukes all the emotional impact of this plot, since we already know where we're going, and it's just a misunderstanding, and that really drives my gears, or turns my gears, excuse me. It's just, that's what people should be, not the decision itself. Aang, I love the character beat of Aang. It makes sense. He already lost his old family in the Air Nomad, so he doesn't want to lose his new one that he just got. So it makes perfect sense for him to make this decision. I just wish it was more on a better foundation, let's say that. If we move over to Sokka, He's really the secondary focus on this episode, while Katara is more sidelined. No character traits for Katara, unfortunately. That really drags this episode down, since she's really Sokka's secondary, or what you call it, like yes man, I guess. Yes woman, excuse me. But Sokka focused on leadership and his father as a role model and how he struggles to live up to that. And we really see this great journey from the beginning to now. We see him really come to terms with that and really show his leadership skills, especially in that boat, what you call it, ice evading or rock evading scene. We really see his leadership skills. It's a great step for him. His character arc is pretty good in this episode. It really enhances what we already got. So yeah, nothing new, nothing special, but it really hammers home what we already have, and I think it's a great episode for him nonetheless. Katara, however, as I said, is probably a negative for the episode. She gets pretty much nothing except for going with Sokka, which seems a little bit more out of character than Sokka when he decides to turn his back on Aang after finding out about the paper or about the map. It feels more out of character with Katara. For some reason, I cannot explain it too much, but it just feels like she has more compassion in that, and I just wished she got a little bit more deliberation, maybe a look back of sadness or something. When it comes to Bato, he is honestly a good guest character, good chemistry with the siblings, which is the most important thing. They really feel like they know each other, which can be an issue for other shows when they have old characters that they don't really feel like they've had this history. But these characters really feel like they really have a history together, and that is the most important thing. Other than that, he just feels like a fun uncle character, which is really all that's needed from him. But it doesn't go anything special, I'll say. But it's pretty good. And if we go to the decision to leave from Sokka and Katara, it does seem reasonable, especially on Sokka. As I said, Katara is a little more questionable. They are kids, so that you gotta take that into deliberation, and they are reactionary. It does make sense, and it's good that they undo it really quick. It's not many minutes, if even a minute, before they go back and realize they have to be with Aang, because we all knew it's going to be undone. You know, we have to go back to the status quo in some way, and we couldn't just like have them split up for several episodes. At least in this way, they could have done that. That would have been interesting. And they found each other later, maybe in the finale. That would have been interesting. I would have loved to see that, because it feels kind of weightless when they turn away, because they know I know they're gonna go back together. Maybe it's because I watched it a lot of times too, so I know what's gonna happen. But I really wish that they had more weight. But it's good that they undo it, because you know it doesn't have any weight, so they just undo it real quick. We got a little satisfying ending, so it's totally fine and nothing special. Like I said, this whole episode is just nothing special, but it's pretty good. I feel like people just hate on it too much. We'll get to that later. If we move on to the B plot now, Zuko is standard, nothing special. I feel like I said nothing special like 20 times this video, but yeah, Zuko is pretty standard. I get no character development really. It's more focused on June and Iroh, because June is really fun and just a blast to be with. Yeah, her scenes is just, she brings some extra energy that needed to this episode, especially with Bato being pretty laid back. June is more on top of things, and yeah, she's a great character. That's why she's with the one that came back later in the show. And Iroh just being that flirty, and him actually giving some classic Iroh wisdom, which we haven't seen too much up to this point, since he's more portrayed as a kooky uncle that loves tea and eating in season 1, and we get that wisdom later, especially in season 2 and then season 3. But we get that some classic Iroh wisdom, which we do love to see. And why is the cat so hilarious? I don't know. Like, she has this whole history with the Fire Nation. I don't know why that's so funny to me. When I watch this back, it's just, what's it called? I can't remember the name, but it's just, someone tell me in the comments, please, because I'm not going to look it up right now. I'm just going to do with this take. But that cat is just too funny. From the Blue Spirit episode, everyone knows what I'm talking about. The fight at the end, if we move on to that, it's a fun season 1 fight scene. It's pretty creative, I'll say, goofy but still impressive. It doesn't have too much stake, but yeah, it's pretty funny. Seeing Appa in action against the beast, I don't know what type of beast that is. It's just super fun. We love to see Appa in action. He's just, I love that guy. And yeah, it's just a fun action scene, and it's really season 1 vibes that we get, and there's nothing wrong with that, honestly. It's just, it really matches the tone of the episode, and I do love the fight scene. Aang vs Zuko shows their style differences really well, at least in this point of the story. The passive versus aggressive, and how they defend, how they move, how they on the roof, how Zuko is pretty anonymous with his attacks and kind of hits anyone, while Aang is more precise. Yeah, it's good character writing in the fight scene, and it's perfectly fine. It's pretty good actually for the episode, matches the tone. Nothing special, as I keep saying, but good for the season 1. So my final thoughts on the episode is the whole episode is kind of on the nose with this dialogue. A little one note with the characters. Zuko, Katara especially are pretty simple, but the crutch of the episode isn't as bad as people say. It's just a middle of the road episode. It's good, it's not bad. I don't know why people say it's bad. It's good, it's perfectly fine. Not anything special, as I keep saying, but it's perfect for season 1, especially a little filler kind of episode. It's just got them vibes, got some funny jokes, got a good, goofy, impressive choreography, fight scene at the end that's just flows and good to watch. Yeah, it's just perfectly fine, and I rate it down the middle. Definitely better than Imprisoned and The Great Divide. If you haven't watched my video on Imprisoned, please go watch that right after this one. I do explain why it's such a snooze fest, why it's so boring, and why it's one of the worst, or maybe the worst episode of Avatar The Last Airbender there is. Also, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. I will be posting one Avatar video essay a week from now, starting with the whole season 1. And just comment down below which episode you want to see next, because I will be listening to your feedback. I am a small channel, so please support and help this community grow. But yeah, until next time, I hope you all have a great week.